Okay, guys. I know this is just a silly little comic book movie about some silly little storyline with silly little fake characters doing silly little things that somehow all end with the world ending in some silly little imaginary, totally not real way. But is it a sin to say that I kinda loved it? I know it can be a little on the nose sometimes, wearing its heart on its sleeve here, but is it really that bad to say that it all made me fall for it all the same? I mean, the authenticity behind the story, the willingness to take its actual heart seriously, the early 2000s campiness to the whole thing, it was all so refreshing to see. And the whole message of it all, I think that the first benchmark for a good, or at least palatable movie is to get the audience to believe in and care about the imaginary little world of the film. And I mean that I will admit that I might be a little too easily emotionally attached to people and things, or at least that's my excuse for hoarding stacks and stacks of childhood memorabilia that will likely never be looked at again, only existing as physical markers of the times past. But from the opening titles and stuff, man, I was hooked, and I'm not gonna lie, in the spirit of honesty and an open heart and mind, I guess, I really don't know what it was that came over me, okay? Maybe it was just my confused emotions bubbling up from an intense junior year and a million other things I have going on, mixed in with a hodgepodge of brilliant music and such uniquely pretty visuals that it all made me genuinely tear up a little bit for the old man Kent scene, okay? And another single solitary tear did slide down my left cheek when the dramatic hero shot of Superman coming out of the dust popped up. I'm not someone who cries very often, I'd say, but I don't think I've shed a single tear in a theater, and the closest I've ever come was during my rewatch of Interstellar in its full IMAX glory last December. Good God, that was my spiritual awakening right there, watching Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan at the height of their powers just deliver. I also just want to add that usually I mind when other people in the theater are disrespectful and things like that, and some people sitting near me were admittedly chatting and giggling about the, honestly pretty corny bits of the movie, and the guy sitting on my left was also kind of on his phone watching reels for like half the movie. Still, in that moment, it really did not matter. It was beautiful. And for those brief 2 hours and 9 minutes, I not only believed in the world of the characters, but I also genuinely cared for them and their little silly dramas. But maybe that caring isn't such a crime, or as outlandishly stupid as I've been made out to believe. Because to quote the movie, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. If punk rock really is supposed to remain the countercultural rebellion against conformity that it was intentionally made out to be, then I think we can really say that kindness sort of is punk rock. Okay, this is coming from the most chalant person I think you will ever meet, but I think it has become kind of countercultural to care about things, to feel about things, to believe in the good in others, and to tenderly, to quietly, to genuinely, even when not being watched, or praised, or smiled upon, to love and appreciate others, and to do your best in putting one foot after the other in a right direction. James Baldwin once said that the longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love, whether we call it friendship or family or romance, is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light, gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work in those moments when life and shame and sorrow occlude our own light from view, but there's still a cleary-eyed person loving and beaming it back. In our best moments, we are that person for one another. And okay, I know I'm getting a little too soppy about some silly little movie, but just bear with me, alright? Heroes are so admirable because doing the right thing is so hard. And yes, while I do love to see realistically conflicted and/or depressing and gritty mirrors held up to our times equally depressing and heartless world, there is something, I think, of a lost art in summoning the power of hope. There's something so beautiful in the ability to stand for values you believe in while being able to care for those who do not. And I think that's where Gunn really hit the nail on the head in his characterization of Superman. He's not supposed to be a power fantasy. Superman's strength and superhumanity aren't supposed to be his defining characteristics. Superman is supposed to represent a moral fantasy. This is what separates him as a metahuman from other depressing antiheroes and just flat-out villains. And that's what separates him as a cultural icon from other superheroes. He is, after all, a stand-in for all that's meant to be good, truth, justice, and the American way. even when our own nation has struggled in living up to those promised ideals. In a time and a place where masculinity and adherence to virtue are struggles, I'm really glad that a movie like this exists, where you do see why and how people are, as Peter Cullen put it, strong enough to be gentle. And by virtues, I don't mean in a super evangelical, grr, darn these godless kid nowadays way. I mean in the way that people know that being good and making good decisions are harder than not. So it's commonly seen as okay to just sort of let yourself sag a bit and kind of not be so upstanding and just another brick in the wall. I mean, I, for one, am not religious, but still, I believe that there are certain moral codes and ideals that transcend cultural barriers and unite us to a common definition of humanity. And this movie was the first time I've left a comic book movie not only entertained, but genuinely inspired. So I think that in and of itself deserves credit. And okay, the TLDR of it all, I guess, is that I walked out of the theater touched and wanting to be a better man. I don't know if art gets better than that. While James Gunn's Superman is still in theaters, I really encourage anybody who hasn't, or maybe even has, to show it some love. I know that it's on Blu-ray, but trust me, the theater experience really is different. We come to a place like this for love, for magic, and I think Superman delivers on all those levels. I'll see you later.